talking about art education at primary school level, and about this we will know that what is the importance of art education and how it is important at primary school level. Apart from that, we will be talking about the role of teachers while conducting art business in the primary schools. Today we have with us two panelists, two experts from the field of education. On my right is Mrs. Goswami, who is the principal of APV School, Sheikh Sarai, Delhi, and on my left is Mrs. Matthews, who is the principal again of APV School, Saket, Delhi. So they will be talking about art education, and we will try to know in practice that what is happening at the primary school level as far as art education is concerned. We may also try to know that how it is important for the teachers and what is the role of teachers in displaying art in the schools. We shall also try to know that what kind of arts are available and how these arts can be performed. I will first start from Mrs. Goswami, and I would like to know, Mrs. Goswami, that what exactly this art education is.
Art education, first of all, is one of the very important aspects of the overall education system in a school.
Yeah.
And when we talk of art education, we talk of art education at two levels, two kinds. One is visual art, which is drawing, painting, sculpture.
Right.
It may be two-dimensional, it may be three-dimensional. And the other is visual and performing arts,
Right.
which is, it could be in terms of dance, music, drama. And both these are a very important component of a school system for two or three reasons. First of all, I feel that art education provides an outlet for a child in terms of the emotions, in terms of their values, in terms of their attitudes. Secondly, art education is a very powerful tool in a system for developing our socio-cultural traditions and for passing them down to the children. Thirdly, it is also a kind of a psychological release in the child and develops a sense of aesthetics and beauty. And lastly, of course, which is very important, it provides the child a very wide canvas for creativity and self-expression. So I think nothing is more richer as an input in a school system than art education.
Right. Just now, Mrs. Goswami has given us the background about art education, that what it is and what are the kinds of art education, what role it can play in the schools. And we are talking about the role of teachers as far as art education is concerned. Mainly from you that what could be the role of teachers, especially at primary school level, because we are preparing this program for the primary teachers.
You see, the teachers play a very vital role in this program. It needn't be that all our children come from homes where there is a lot of beauty on display, where there is a lot of color, where there is a garden to see or a flower to admire, or they may be not coming from homes where parents are inclined to aesthetic ideas or art ideas.
Or you know about art education.
And therefore, whatever the child has is learning is from his environment. Now, when he comes to a school, the teacher is able to lead him into a direction of appreciation, of understanding beauty, of imagining things because of her lead role in the class. And therefore, the teacher plays a very vital role in helping the child to enhance his creativity, which is already in him. It may be within him, but it has to be brought out, and the teacher has to take a lead role there.
I think the teacher can appreciate also the art of children, which is to lead towards the motivation of the children.
Appreciation is very, very important. You see, what the child draws may not seem very coherent to an adult, but when a child is drawing something, you must understand that the child is giving part of himself. How he sees it, how he feels it. And therefore what he has expressed has to be appreciated. Although it may seem insignificant to an adult.
We may use he or she, because otherwise it is only for us. So we are talking about the child or about a teacher, whether male or female. So we are concerned about the whole set of teachers who can play a role in it, and the children, all those children learning in a school environment and coming to a school.
And if I might add to the role of the teacher, at the primary level, it is not very important for a teacher to be an excellent artist. It's important for a teacher to know a lot about art, to know a lot of activities she can do with the children.
That's right.
Variety.
That's right.
And she should be very enthusiastic. She or he or the teacher,
Right.
the teacher should be very enthusiastic because she must convey to the child the enjoyment in what has been done.
Right. I do agree with that. And at the same time, the child must also in turn feel that teacher is equally interested in this art. It is not something the teacher is forcibly just fulfilling the responsibility and doing.
Because art education cannot be taught like any other.
Right. It is enjoyment.
So today, previously when we talked of art, it used to be like a drawing class.
Right.
Today is much more than that, because you see the development, the revolution that has taken place in knowledge and in other areas. It is much more than just drawing. And there is an explosion of knowledge. Art is almost synonymous with creativity today.
Right.
It's a totally different atmosphere, a totally different area to be discovered.
How do you feel that you have to take like this, that the teachers have to play a supervisory role also as far as art performing is concerned?
It will work at different levels, I feel. It is important initially for a teacher to initiate children.
Right.
And then once a child has moved on to his own expression and creativity, then the teacher's role has to be supervisory and appreciative.
Right. And supervision is mainly for that.
Supervision is
not to just criticize the children, but encourage them, encourage the children and tell them where they are wrong, where they are right. It should lead towards the enrichment of that art.
And in art education, art should not be taught.
Right.
I mean, the teacher should never draw a flower on the board and say, I am duplicate it. Because that is which will kill the creativity of the child at every level. So it's very important. And also, the medium that we use for art education should be wide and varied. And a lot of things can be used in the child's environment. It could be sand, it could be paper, stray pieces of cloth the child has at home. It could be pebbles, it could be leaves. And it does not necessarily have to be a pencil or a crayon or a paper alone. And this is where, the variety, the continuous excitement, and the thrill that will come in terms of child's creativity and expression. It cannot be imitation at all. It has to be representation, it has to be creativity. And no boundary can be made for art. You see, the very fact that in some cases we have these coloring books, that is a kind of an inhibition to the expression of the creativity of the child. Because when you are asking a child to color a book, you have drawn a boundary, you are expecting him to draw within that boundary. That would not be art. That would be anything other than art. But when it is art, it has to be a free expression. If the child feels that the leaf is yellow today, it's because he felt that the leaf is yellow, and therefore he should be given the credit for drawing the leaf yellow. And if you ask him further, he may say that there was no water and it was dry or whatever. He may have a reason for it.
I do agree with this, but at the same time, if we go through the page of psychology, then they do believe that children learn by imitation also. Some may believe in that, some may not believe in that, but the fact remains imitation is also a way. This is not a common way, of course, but certain things can be learned by imitation, especially at a very, very small age. When children look at their parents, look at their friends, and then they see what they are doing, they also try to do accordingly. And if parents are there, perhaps we say that if father and mother play a good role, children take it from them. They are imitating their parents. And there I think perhaps this can also play a role to some extent, if not to a great extent. But at the same time, I do believe your school being one of the leading schools in Delhi, you must be paying attention towards this art education in your school. And you must have made it a part and component of your curriculum also. Could you please throw light on some of the arts which you are giving focus in your school, or which you are giving priority while conducting the classes and all that?
You see, the art education starts right from nursery class itself. The very fact that the child is scribbling, that itself is a kind of art. Scribbling, when the child is scribbling in the nursery classes, it is a coordination between the motor and the visual, trying to develop those skills. So that is also art. That is appreciated. So it starts with scribbling, it goes on to say, later on they learn the use of color. It goes in stages. Maybe in the class 1 level, they've scribbled, takes a different shape. If you see class 1 children drawing a human figure, they will start with the head. And the limbs they will show in the form of sticks probably. Because they are not so very aware of how to give a shape to a body. But the head is so prominent and the legs and the hands are so prominent. So we go into that kind of art. We have, simple sketches. Then there is coloring of the sketches. That's the next stage in art where, they learn the importance of color in art. And then we go into, this is part of drawing that we are doing. We have sceneries. We have ideas, thrown like it's a village scene, or it's a marketplace, or it's a railway station. And whatever they've imagined scene after a holiday, they've come back after a summer holiday. What did you see at a particular hill station you went to, or you went to your grandmother's house? What is the garden like there? These are, as you go in stages, it goes on, and it goes on to higher classes. It goes on to use of paint, oil painting, some other kind of elaborate kind of work that they do in art. We do have in this primary classes, we do have cutting and pasting of papers. We have using of vegetables, for giving impressions, and we have work on glass. We have work on glass. Then we have, besides that, we also have craft. It goes side by side. Where they are taught how to, or they have classes of making certain models, certain craft work. Diwali is where they know how to make the decoration.
We call it art and craft.
Craft together, yes. But we do have a lot of good craft work. We have exhibitions in craft and art, so that parents come and view what they've done, and they are appreciated. And at present, we do not have the art as a painting. It doesn't go into the stage of painting in class 11 because we have finished it at class 10 level. That's how.
I do believe that your school is really doing good, and may also be dealing with so many things in your school as far as art is concerned. Especially if we take painting, and these days we find that painting has become very common with the small children. There are many painting competitions in Delhi being organized by different agencies, different NGOs and organizations, and they encourage children towards that. She was referring to scribbles, for example, and I have seen some of the scribble painting, if I may call it. Children just scribble on the piece of paper and it becomes something. Then we ask the child that, what is this? And in his or her own creative or imaginary thinking, the child explains, I have made it a train, or I have made it a human body, or whatever it may be. And then closely looking at it, it gives some impression of that kind. Looking from this, what is your opinion about this, at what level? If I remember it correctly, we divide it into stages, just like the children from 4 to 6, then 6 to 9, then 9 to 15, because we believe that at these levels we have to give different kind of arts. I do believe that you will agree with me. Could you please throw some light on this, that what is happening exactly in your school?
See, what we do is we expose the children to a wide range of activities, and we try and fit it in according to the calendar of the year, depending on the season, depending on the festivals that are coming, and depending on the availability of things in the environment. I mean, as Mrs. Matthew said, sometimes we use vegetables. So seasonal vegetable like a lady finger, a child will cut, and use it to make flowers and make a beautiful garden out of it. We use pulses at different times of the year. We might use sand, as I said, pieces of cut paper. Grass, children will pick up and make a beautiful drawing or something like that, and they'll stick it. So right from a very early age, starting almost from the age when children are about 4 plus, we have a wide variety of exposure. Of course, the coordination and the motor skills improve with age. And we have painting on tiles. A child might just bring a bathroom tile lying at home and make a beautiful creation of that. So therefore, there are a lot of variety. But in addition to all these art and craft activities, making things out of waste, you might just have a few pieces of wood lying at home or some green sticks lying at home, and you can join them and do something in school. But in addition to this, we have performing arts also, where we have a lot of music, a lot of dance activity, and we have instrumental music also. So children learn some of the local Indian traditional instruments, they learn some of the Western musical instruments in school itself. We have band instruments like the drums and bagpipes that children are learning in school.
Does it make part of your curriculum?
It is a part of the curriculum
for all the children.
Dance and music is compulsory for all the children. But band and instrumental music, because the facilities are limited in terms of number of instruments, that we leave it to children as an option.
Well, from I may draw that this is really a very, very essential activity for the children, which all teachers must take up in their schools.
We have also included theatre in it.
Yes.
Theatre is also part of our art curriculum. And another thing, children are very much involved with is in making finger puppets. You see? So what children do is they cut out the small finger puppets according to the size of the finger, they draw color paint, and they can imaginatively create a whole story.
Because puppetry is becoming a very, very interesting thing. People do believe in that. At the same time, I can understand it that you can afford for all these things, because your schools are quite influential in terms of money, in terms of children, in terms of the background of the parents of children, and then the society. So many things are responsible for it. The environment, as far as environment is concerned, fortunately we have got a good environment also around the school. How do you suggest for the school which are in remote areas where the infrastructure is not available to that extent, financially they are not strong, how can they involve children in this activity?
Definitely, art education requires a lot of imagination, but not very much in terms of money resource.
Right.
Except when we go maybe for learning of instrumental music where you may need instruments.
Right.
Other than that, I mean, if you have a nice open space for children, you can just sit out in the open. I think that's a beautiful place to do an art workshop or a class. Similarly, in terms of music and dance, what you need is someone, I mean, if you just have a dholak, that's enough to provide that kind of stimulation for a child to learn music and dance. And you need a little open space. So you don't really require a lot of technical instruments or material or whatever. And even in our school, where we have a lot of facilities, but for dance and music, we don't use many of these things most of the time. So it may be just an harmonium and an open space or a room where the teacher can teach children music and dance, and that itself provides. But we need a lot of creativity on the part of the teacher to keep innovating new steps of dances, new kind of music, new songs that the children keep learning, and make them relevant to what the child is familiar about. This is where the role of the teacher is very crucial. Normally when we talk of art education, whether it is painting, craft, music, dance, normally what happens is that we start concentrating only on those children who are good in the activity. But it is very important at the primary level for every teacher to understand who is involved with art education that this, good or not so good, this is a very important integral part which is necessary for every child. We are not training children to be singers or dancers or painters, but it is mainly a form of creativity and expression which every child has an inbuilt need. So which is why it is absolutely important that every child should be put through the process. Every child should be given an equal opportunity. And then as they grow up later, some of them might become very good in music or dance or that. But at the primary level, it is mandatory for every child to be allowed this freedom of it.
I was just thinking about, I also have this strong opinion when we talked about evaluation. But something what I feel, evaluation is of two types. One is the continuous evaluation, which has to grow on. Another is the permanent evaluation, where you may evaluate the child that what has been performed or done in the art section. But at the same time, don't you think that we have to be very careful while evaluating the children, especially the small children?
It has to be very carefully, and the teacher has to be very sure of how she is evaluating. So that also I think, teachers need training and a little bit of guidelines on how this kind of a evaluation on a subject like this, where you do not, you cannot correct in terms of, wrong and right. It's an expression, it's a creativity, it's a feeling. So in this, we will have to find out a kind of an evaluating system which is continuous, which is where the teacher is very sure of how she is evaluating, where a properly trained evaluating system, evaluating system which has been evaluated by experiment and then come to a conclusion, yes, this is the best available among other evaluating systems. And also we should be evaluating not the output of what the child has done, because that again will depend on the competence of the child. But what we evaluate is the child's continuous participation. So the child is involved in a dance, always the child may not be dancing very well, but I think the child deserves a good grade.
Because we have
the enthusiasm of the child.
I do agree with that. We have an evaluation system in our this university. We evaluate the assignments, and we train the academic counselor that how you have to evaluate the assignment. the main point in the evaluation of assignment is writing the comments.
Absolutely.
And comments we have divided into two parts. One is a teaching comment, another is non-teaching comment. I have personally checked some of the assignments where academic counselors write, "This is foolish, language is horrible," and our learners, since being a different set of learners, the language is quite damaging. So we fully train them that how a negative comment can also be written in positive, and how we can just give the impression to the child, at least if the answer is incorrect, but still we have to appreciate the efforts of the child.
Yes.
Child has written 4 pages, he has taken some things in writing these 4 pages, therefore this appreciation motivates the child next time to write the correct answer. Similarly, we may have to do on that part also. If we move from this place towards now the personality development of a child, how does it help the child to grow mentally?
You see, art, as we just discussed, it is an expression of what the child is feeling within himself.
Right.
The child's feeling, the way the child sees it.
Right.
Now, that in the younger or in the earlier stages, what they have seen, they have expressed. What they have felt, they have expressed.
Right.
But as they grow up, what they cannot tell others, they express.
Right.
What they cannot share with somebody, they express in the form of art. If there is something that they are sensitized to, or sensitive, they feel, they have a feeling towards something,
Right.
and they can express it in the form of art.
Right.
So it is a whole, expression of the inner feelings of an individual.
Right.
And that once that expression is taking a form in the form of piece of art,
Right.
or in the form of maybe poetry is also a
Right.
form of expression where it comes to. When the child has expressed himself or herself, then I am sure that the child who is burdened with something is feels lighter.
Right.
Or something that has been bothering him about, the child has been bothered about some idea, and nobody is listening.
Right.
The child picks it in the form of art. Then he feels that yes, I have made something visible from the idea.
Right.
So this helps the child to grow.
And you believe that this art also grows with the child? One child passes from one stage to another stage?
The art also grows because as the child matures, the child's thought process, the child's impressions, the child's imagination, everything grows. And art not only expresses what the child sees in the world around,
Right.
but I think it also gives the child an opportunity to project what the child is dreaming about, what the child is planning for the future, what the child would like the surroundings to be like. In addition, I feel that different forms of art give not only self-expression and creativity, but also give a child a lot of confidence.
Right.
It gives a child a lot of effectiveness in means of communication,
Right.
and also somewhere it gives the child a lot of cultural enrichment, which is also a very strong part of the personality development of a child.
Right.
It becomes a kind of a friend to the child.
And how do you agree with me that if I say to this art preserves the tradition, and tradition we can take to newer generations with the help of art, not with the help of books more. If art performances is strong, then we can preserve traditions, good traditions which we need to preserve, and children can learn those traditions more strongly and more effectively.
Yes, yes. You see, today if you look at the type of people, for example, living in a city like Delhi,
Right.
you have people coming from all over India. You have from the south, you have from the north, you have from the east, you have from the west. How does the child learn what is the tradition of the other part of the country?
Right.
It is only through the art. Now you have a festival, for example, you have the Onam festival, or you have a Pongal festival,
Right.
or you have any of the many kinds of Diwali, and no, traditional ones I'm talking of, where in a school situation, you have those kind of dances, you have kind of customs that are being
Right.
celebrated, and this is being celebrated in the schools, and so the child is able to learn about it, and the tradition is carried on
Right.
into the next generation.
That's right.
Then you have the other day when we visited Indore, was it in Ahmedabad, where they showed us the pottery of all the, they have this pottery exhibition over there, And it was so amazing to see that, like people like us who've never seen that kind of art, we were so, thrilled to see the type of art that was there available in India so many years ago.
That's right.
So it's very important. Drama, we can take all our old epics, our old nice stories to the children. Through dances, we can expose them to our entire traditional cultures. Through celebration of festivals, the children know exactly what is our ancient thing which is so enriching in our value system. Through music, we teach them certain values, certain qualities which we value so much as a country. And not only that, a very beautiful example recently what we did was our children sat together and composed the song. And then children from different states sat and converted that into 5 or 6 different languages. The same meaning of the song. And one stanza, there was a stanza in Bengali, there was a stanza in South Indian, there was a stanza in Assamese language. And when children of all different groups learned that together, we definitely passed on a very rich heritage of our culture and tradition to our children.
I think from your discussion I gather that art is of course an important part of the curriculum and it needs to be taken up by all the teachers. Smaller or a bigger way, whatever way they be there, and whatever possibilities may be there, we need to cater to this art at school level. But at the same time, how much time do you think as a principal head of the institution that we must spend for this art in a primary school?
I feel that the smaller classes, that is in the age group of 4 to 6 and then 6 to 9, we definitely need to give at least 2.5, 3 hours in a week. If we do, because unless you're given that much amount of time, the child takes time, the child is slow, and the child must complete what the child is doing. But as you go on to classes 6, 7, 8 onwards, maybe even if you can give a child 1 hour of extra and not disjointed, that serves its purpose.
You believe that this art continues even up to the higher education level?
It definitely must continue up to the higher education.
After the channels and direction.
And in addition to having this fixed slot of time that we have every week, what we do is at least once a term, we may keep a whole afternoon free, wherein the children are just left open out in the lawn and they're asked to paint, create. So those kind of slightly longer time stretches also, in addition to this thing which is built into the normal time.
How do you visualize your role as the principal of the school to just give some more importance to this art or to give a right direction to the art education in your school?
As a principal, we have to give a lot of flexibility to the teacher. The teacher, with all our ideas or his ideas, should be given the freedom to utilize that creativity and idea that she has in the class. Children should be given all the facilities, the infrastructure that is needed. They want to go out into the garden today and do something in art, and we should have that. We should give them the freedom to do it. By restricting and curbing this kind of freedom, we cannot achieve anything.
You may not be doing justice to the teacher.
So the teacher comes up with some bright ideas about how she would like, he would like to take a particular class, or would like to introduce something new that he or she has learned. We should, after going through the idea that has come through, if we find it's a good idea, we should be ready to accept it.
So we are talking about art education today. I think that the viewers, the teachers will take lot of advantage out of this discussion. They will at least know what is the importance of art education at the primary level and in the curriculum, how it can be incorporated. And you two people who are leading, just heading to leading institutions, have given your opinion, have given your thoughts and views about art education. I am sure that teachers will be benefited by this. I am very thankful to you for sparing time and taking pains to come out to this place and giving your experiences, which are first-hand experiences. And I do believe that our teachers will be benefited by this discussion a lot, and they will take pains and they will take interest in performing both the types of arts, whether it is visual, whether it is performing art in school level, so that children grow physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and in all respects. Thank you very much, Mrs. Matthew and Mr. Jamin. Thank you very much.